Going live, preparing to live stream the meeting. Let's see. Let's see what happens here.
Is this an hour or a half hour?
However long you want it to be. It could be 15 minutes.
Whatever you want. No, it's up to you. Well, I mean, I can talk forever.
Live stream. Oh, no. Let's see. All right. So it looks.
We're doing something new.
I'm gonna press record on this side. It looks like it's already live on YouTube. Right, cool. So if there's anyone watching, they're seeing us do this thing right now.
Oh,
I'm gonna press record.
It's all organic, right?
What's that?
It's all organic.
I think that's what's best about it. It's just what happens. Like, it's the proverbial fly on the wall. We're gonna have a conversation. We might say some things that are little nuggets and takeaways and time.
Yeah. I need one of those hats, Tim.
I got you. Well, listen, so we got to get.
You didn't send me that billboard yet.
So here's the thing. Now I need to get back into my office. They're both sitting on top of my desk, along with all my other things. So now I'm not sure what happens in this scenario.
Yeah, you got time, so
we got to go back and get it. So I'm gonna press record, and
let's do it.
Do the little intro thing here. Welcome to the Out of Home Insider Show, the loudest voice in out of home, where we're bringing you tips, tricks, insider insights. And today's guest has a plentiful amount of all of the above. Andrea Henley joining us live from Anytime Fitness, an out of home staple and a small business owner. Andrea, thanks so much for making
time. Oh my gosh, thank you. My pleasure. And I'm glad that we're doing this live, my first time too, and you're doing such a great job with everything you're doing. So
Thank you.
Finally nice to see you face to face.
It's exciting for me to do this face to face as well, because you're somebody that I look up to in the out of home space and just in life in general. I think you've got a great attitude about things, and certainly the current climate and marketplace that we're in has changed some things. You're a small business owner, right?
Correct. Yes, we are. And we're in Florida. So it was kind of interesting because it was during spring break that this all happened. So we had a lot of tourist visitors and that, not knowing what was going on. But yes, we're a small business owner, Anytime Fitness, part of a franchise. So they closed the fitness clubs, mandated, and bars, restaurants. Most of the restaurants are open until like 7, or else you can do takeout. So it was quite the shock. But, it was for the right reasons. If people, like, we have a lot of members that are elderly too. And they were like, and it really hit home because they were like, I might not live through this, And
right, that's a real threat.
Yeah, that's a real threat. And then you're like, because I'm thinking we're pretty healthy and we're working out and all that. But when they were like, we're not even going to be coming anymore because we might not even live through this, it was like, okay, it's time to, this is bigger than us. This is bigger than our business. We can rebuild, money and all that, but you can't replace lives. So.
And that gives you really valuable perspective, right? Because you're not just operating in a silo within, a corporate structure of a 9-to-5 job that we all go to Monday through Friday. You're in a capacity, you're touching the public, you're seeing people and how it's impacting their lives, some of the things that are going on. So having both a perspective of a business owner and also of a professional, how do you sort of separate the two, and what advice would you give to other small business owners that are going through some challenges right now?
Yeah, I mean, we were, strategizing before what we were going to do. There are so many resources where you can get a deferment, small business. If you have an SBA loan, if you reach out, if you have a loan on your business, they will defer it. Everybody's been really helpful. We went to all of our, partners and said, the cable bill, they delayed payment, things like that. Those are things that kind of give you that runway, right? If you're not having people coming in and spending money or joining, the club or even any small business owner, I kind of look at that. We have a full-time manager, and I did not want to let her go because there's still things we have to have done, like keeping the place clean. So instead of, signing people up, this is her only income. And I really felt for her. So I did tell the cleaners, because they have other contracts, that we were going to take a hiatus from them until we figure out what's going on, but then allow our manager to come in and make some money. So I think you have to sort of reinvent yourself, or think about, this is going to impact everybody, every, single person, from, a bartender here next door. We have a bar, to, Fortune 100 companies. Everyone's going to take a hit. So I think we all have to just be responsible.
I think I heard the number 700,000 people filed for unemployment last week, and they expect that number to grow significantly this week. I think 700,000 was at the peak of the 08-09 recession. That was the most number of people that had even filed, and we saw it in 1 week. So there's certainly going to be more of an impact felt, and the fact that you're thinking of other ways to use your employees to defer things with your vendors, and like you said, I really like the analogy of a runway, right? Rather than, hey, I need to find a way to make money, right? Which all companies run on sales in some capacity. Rather than, I need to find a way to make money, what can I do to be responsibly fiscally right now, and defer some of those things? So knowing that you're making taking those measures to defer some of those things, how then do you approach the sales side? Because there's a lot of folks listening to this even right now that they're in some sort of sales capacity. That's how they provide for their families. What do you think the right way is to go to market right now?
I think that it's very sensitive right now, and people, and I, it's funny. I put that post up that I closed my business, and then somebody hit me up on LinkedIn and wanted to talk about how he could help me increase sales inside my, not even thinking, like, not even being aware, right? He's probably just a spam, and I was like, this is a little insensitive, but I've been through this. We're talking before this, through the .com era, when that crashed. It's a little bit different, 9/11, and then also the real estate crash. We, in Florida especially, I used to manage the Sarasota Bradenton market, and every single one of my billboards, I think, was sold for, I don't know, a year or two, and then it crashed, and I was like, oh my gosh, what do I went from 95% occupancy down to 60. And I'm like, and you're kind of like a deer in the headlights, and you're like, what do we do? So I went back, and you got to let them cancel, because they're not going to pay you. They're not, if they're trying to save, jobs and things like that, and you got to be sensitive to that and know that it's not about you anymore. Let them out. When they come back, they'll come back stronger, because you let them out, and they'll appreciate that, or defer it to, third or fourth quarter once we get out of this. But I went back and I said, who are the people that couldn't afford billboards when we were doing so well, that wanted to? And I put packages together, right? Really like low end packages where we could live with it. 10, 15 locations at a time, car dealerships. There's always some sort of someone that wants to slide in there, and say, oh my gosh, I can get on all these billboards that weren't available before. It's preemptible, right? So you can move them around when you recover, but they get a lot of exposure for, what they couldn't before. And then that's one thing that I did. It ended up turning the market around, growing it by 18% in this one market, because occupancy drives rate on everything, but you have to go to work. You can't go, I'm going to hold out for the rates I was just getting. That's not going to happen. You have to like bottom out and then rebuild, and it works. And that year actually got, not to toot my own horn or anything, I just went to work, but I got MVP for the year.
It's awesome.
I grew in a down economy. So I know that you just have to think, your mind has to change, you have to go in a different direction.
I think that's a really interesting approach of, because a lot of people's first solution is just drop rate. Just drop rate to who though? Who can afford, who has the means to, who has the want, right, to do the thing that I sell right now, which is advertising space. Who has the want, who has the means, and who has that need.
Sure.
And right now there's a lot of places disrupted, but when we see some of the advertising spends are down 15, 20%, it doesn't mean they're down 100%. So they're still spending money. There are people out there spending money. Are there any categories in particular that you think it makes sense to approach now, or maybe what were some of those categories in that instance that stood out as, hey, this person wouldn't normally be able to afford it, but is now a player?
I think really right now is the small business owners that are also having delivery service. You know, the restaurants are closed, but they're doing curbside. People are, I'm in Florida, right? People are still driving around. So you can have that directional, you know, change to carry out, Uber drivers, even going to somebody that's doing well, say Charmin. They're, you know, the toilet paper. Maybe they could be a sponsor for public service messages, right?
That's a cool idea.
They're up 200% last time I looked, or more, and growing. Every single toilet paper company that's killing it right now, online, all that, you can say this public service message is sponsored by Charmin. You know, they're making money. So you may be able to get a good, you know, higher rate and say, look, you know, you guys are benefiting, everybody's taking a hit. You know, we've got these gaps right now, and we really need to have some positivity out there. So maybe a public service ad where they're sold out, so they don't have any product to sell, but something like a community message, I think would be ideal.
I like that idea of approaching some of these companies that are doing well, and, you know, especially well, like Charmin and maybe Purell, P&G, all these companies, and approach it from the standpoint of, hey, listen, we know you don't need to advertise, right? You've got nothing on the shelves, right? But there's a lot of people who are struggling that could benefit. And here's how we all come back from this a little bit stronger. I think that's a really good takeaway. So that's a great idea from the right now. What was it, small businesses particularly that you found the most success with when you implemented the other low occupancy plan?
Yeah. You know, you get a lot of national business, especially in Florida, for tourism and new products, and, you know, tourism's huge. But the small business owners, you know, they were doing, you know, smaller, like direct mail and things like that. If you can look at your rates and see, you know, am I covering my lease? Am I covering the lights? And we're not losing money, but they're able to get on there and say, look, I've got a 90-day window where, you know, Verizon just backed out, or somebody just backed out. Could, you know, it'd be great if you could fill it, and they would love that, you know, and then they can take pictures of that. You know, it makes the community feel like it's coming together as well. So I think local, you know, focus is really important right now.
Yeah, I think like the onus is really on, you know, on everybody as a community, on the small business side, on everybody to come together with great ideas like that, because there's probably still no greater vehicle than out of home to almost reassure the market. You know, you start seeing posting coming down, and ad counselor stuff going up, and advertisers aren't advertising now. The people that are having to go to work, it's, you know, the people that are still having to go to work right now, essential personnel. It's the person restocking the shelves. It's the nurse taking your temperature. It's the truck driver going. So, you know, they're seeing these things, and they are these little like ants, if you will, that go back out in the communities and spread the message. What's going on out in the world today? I went exploring and I saw this message. And
what about even like a thank you message? Like Sarasota Memorial Hospital here is just overcrowded. Thank you to the nurses from, you know, one of the big, you know, car dealerships here. We appreciate you, you know, something like that.
I like
somebody
that.
Can afford, you know, just thanking the people who are, you know, really soft. I mean, I talk to a lot of nurses. They're like, we're working 16, 18-hour shifts.
Wow.
You know, and it's just tough. There's such a shortage of supplies too, masks and hand sanitizers, and we think, oh, they're, you know, Amazon, Walmart, but there's sources to get that kind of stuff too. And if somebody could step up and just donate a bunch of, you know, masks, and they would get the PR from that. The PR alone is huge.
Sure. So you bring up an interesting idea, which is something that we've talked about, and I'm sure you're having conversations with lots of folks, as am I, about pivoting, about in this time, what is that opportunity? And we get it. We're not being pie in the sky. You know, everything's happy and easy right now. We realize that's not reality. But there are opportunities. There are opportunities to train your team. There are opportunities to defer things to find opportunities for your employees. How important right now do you feel it is for organizations to either retain talent through cultural engagement in a remote capacity or be stocking the bench right now? I know that a lot of people aren't thinking about hiring right now, but there's a lot of talent that's coming out onto the marketplace. Where do you fall on those two things? Training in this scenario, and then also stocking the bench.
I think don't need to stock the bench right now. You keep your talent, they were there when he was good. They can, if depending on the person, I think that organizations, just as long, I've been around a long time, when times are good, people get really complacent. And if you have that mindset of this is going to happen every year, you'll work differently. Like I would start working on a 10-month calendar versus 12. We've got an annual budget. I was trying to make it by 10 months so that the last 2 months I could kind of have a little padding, Speaking of talent, for instance, Tom Brady is going to be coming down here, to the Bucs.
What a pickup.
Yeah. So the NFL can step up and take some of this Tampa Bay inventory that we have, right?
No kidding, right? Yeah. Hey, welcome to town, Tom.
Yes, TB to TB.
Come on. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's a big news. I mean, whether you like him or not, it's going to be a big, that's why I feel like Tampa's going to recover really quick because the Super Bowl is next year here. And then Tom Brady's coming here, so some of those things like that, you have to look at. I'm not going to be able to sell anything in May, but what can I do in fourth quarter? Start putting those third quarter, fourth quarter packages, and the talented people know how to do that to recover.
So let's say you've got somebody. All right. So we know Q3, Q4 is the focus, right? You just gave such a good example. Football. We're looking forward to football. So we're looking past the current environment. We're looking forward to a thing that we know is eventual. And I think that's really important from a human psyche standpoint. Q3, Q4, should I be doing the plan right now? Should I be reaching out to who I think those great Q3, Q4 prospective clients are? What's the right thing to be doing?
I think so, because everybody wants the hope of we're going to get out of this.
Yeah.
It's not today. It is not today. It is not tomorrow. It's probably not in 60 days, but the hope of going, let's look at third quarter. How are you doing? Let's, try to figure out get your mind off of what's a strategy. What are some ideas? I'm not locking you in right now, but when we come back, what would third and fourth quarter look like for you? And this is what let's really strategize about helping people with a plan instead of trying to have them come up with a plan. Anybody that's in the local markets, they know their markets. We wait on national a lot and things like that, but just being the biggest word is proactive. Always be proactive, and give them hope. We're going to get out of this third, fourth quarter. We're going to have the Super Bowl, and things like that to plan for.
It's because no one wants to buy doom and gloom. We all want to buy the hope, right? It's not, there's a $1 trillion health and wellness industry and a $1 billion, self-help book industry and all that. It's because we buy hope. We don't buy bad news unless you're.
Yeah, we got to let this time go right here, but heavy up. All right, take out a second quarter. Take all that money you're going to be canceling and just boom, heavy up in third quarter.
Go so heavy.
Yeah,
because there's a real opportunity to create a ton of momentum once you go coming out of because you're going to have people like you and me who have been inside pent up for a couple months and we're just dying to get out. So give us something to go do. Give us experiential stuff. Give us the Super Bowl. Give us Tom Brady throwing touchdowns.
Yes, absolutely. Visualize that. And just, getting people's minds off of things. Like we're sitting there watching the news or social media, like oh my gosh, what do I do? Like, let's talk about some creative concepts. And these could just be ideas. You don't have to commit to this, but I think our mind needs some more exercise. We're all, no pun intended, I'm at Anytime Fitness, but that kind of thing. Like when I start doing my housework now, those things that I put off, I feel like nothing's going on. So I think that mind, keeping our minds busy. And you and I are hunting for things and looking for side hustles, but
For sure. Right.
I like Ubering. I don't care. Like, I got to do something. I got to be out with people, I don't care.
Yeah. And that's what's so great about this. I appreciate you taking the time, because it's continuing to connect with people. It's continuing to tell stories that matter and showing people, hey, you know what? There's other people just like you. We're all going through something or some semblance thereof. We talked about it earlier. I got furloughed today. Last week I'm the cheerleader. It's gonna be all right, everybody. Buckle up, we're gonna be fine. And then today I'm like, shit, this sucks. And like I feel abandoned in a way. Like, it was so quick. And so being isolated already, right?
Yes.
Having this uncertainty, which isn't a great thing. And now feeling sort of like I've got the disease myself, and they're like, ooh, stay over there on this island until we know it's safe. We'll come back and get you. Like, yeah, it's a little bit of a mind fuck.
It is, because 3 weeks ago it's a lot of it's in our minds too, because I'm like, 3 weeks ago this was still going on, but now we're all like, hey, stay away, go away, and you're like, wait, I don't have it. Why are you acting like that towards me? You don't know. We don't know. That's the thing, is the unknown. Yes. But I know that we will, recover from this. And it looks like, I want to see some positivity though. When the media is so, everybody, like, it's so funny. People are in Florida, you see the beaches, they're packed. And they're like, those Floridians. I'm like,
I saw them in the news today.
We don't go to the beach till summer. Just want to put that out there. Tourist season, we wait till the tourists leave. And then when our kids are out of school, that's when we go to the beach. I'm like, oh, I'm not laying out in the sun. I'm closing down my business. I'm homeschooling my daughter. I'm making sure I got enough water and food for my dog. And
for sure,
funny. It's like everybody starts pointing fingers, but we all have to just be responsible for ourselves. You got on that plane knowing this was coming, and you're down there, and then you go back home and say, those Floridians. That's not fair. Just gonna say it.
Catching a bad rap. That's what happens. You steal Tom Brady. Everyone blames you for the world's problem.
We got Tom Brady, and we got the beaches.
That's it.
We have no business, right? There's always a silver lining.
So with that segue, what I'm about to say is going to sound completely asinine. I've said this to a few folks. I want to be on record. I could very well come back to regret this. My opinion right now, this is maybe the greatest opportunity we're ever going to see in our entire life. And it's not for the reason that you may think.
Right.
But we are all on equal footing right now. Everyone has been slowed to the exact same speed. It's a race. It's a marathon. It's a sprint. Whatever race you run, everyone is following the pace car right now. Do you believe that to be true? If you do, why? If you don't, why not?
I have a really good friend that I saw last week, and he is very, very, very well-to-do. And no matter how much money you have, the bigger you are, the harder it's all relative, it's all relative. If you got $1 billion, you're going to probably lose 50 million. If you've got $500, in the bank, these waitresses and people like that are it's all relative. And and I said this to my husband. I'm like, America needed to take a break. And we were forced to. And I don't want anybody to lose their life or anything like that, but we needed to reset. I'm looking at my pool that I never used for 5 years. I'm working my butt off to pay for it, but I never use it. I got in it, and like we need to reset. We need to breathe. One of the things with fitness is there's so many things online too. Yoga, or people can still do classes online, just feel like they're still connected and things like that. I think that's super important to keep your mind going through this too, and those endorphins. But it's humbled me in a good way, because I was stuck to my phone. I was obsessed with work. I was obsessed with business. I was obsessed with making money. I was worried about this bill, that bill, paying this for the business, taking care of all this. And like, I don't have control of this. And it gave me the break that I needed to reset, really. And then also look at other people. Like there's so many people that are way less fortunate, and there's people that are more fortunate. So we all kind of took the blinders off. At least that's what it did for me.
I think that, excuse me, I think the sentiment is going to be pretty consistent, depending on where people are in sort of this cycle. Depending on every day, right? Every day it's a fluid target. But I think that's ultimately going to be the thing that we all take away from this is, damn, I was missing out on a lot of things. Last Tuesday, it was my son's first or second day of the homeschool thing, and my first day of work from home. So, I'm able to help his mom out and take him for a few hours, and we did one homework assignment, and then he watched WWE for an hour, and then I was like, hey man, we should just like do another one now. He's like, yeah, why not? And we did another one, and it was just I felt like we got just as much work done as he would have, and just as much learning, but there was way less stress. The kid just hung out all day. It was great.
It's nice sort of when you don't there's a path, right, for all of this. We got to let that path go. We can't control it. And
yes, totally.
I can't pay my bills for the gym right now because, we can, I'm so obsessed. Like, get that bill paid, this, that. I'm like, oh, I don't have to think about that for a month, and
right.
we'll rebuild. And I think our customers, even coming back to the gym, they were so appreciative of having it right before we closed that they even changed. They were so nice. They're like, you are the best owners. You have the cleanest gym. We love you. It's a community here. They really understood what they were about to lose, and then also appreciated it up to the end. And so they were writing like really nice things to us on Facebook, and we love you guys, and we'll be back, and we're going to bring our friends. And so, we'll just have like this big grand opening, and hopefully it'll be sooner than later.
I hope so. And I think that we just said is it's worth crystallizing, because the bottom line is people are going to remember what you did now and how you made them feel specifically, right? Sure. So by giving people a hard time about deferring payments or canceling a contract because they need to make payroll, giving people a hard time about that,
not good.
Right, you're not going to get paid now, and they're not going to come back and spend money with you later either.
Yes,
so
that's so true.
Don't make these decisions.
That can spend money, right? Say, look, I can do this, short-term contract, but can you, pay a couple, a month in advance or something, there's people that do have, dollars to spend that didn't have it before. And plus I really do feel like the restaurants could benefit from this, because you don't know who's open, who's not, who's got carry out.
Sure.
I know that some of them are hiring because they're doing phone, you have to call in for the order. So there's like different jobs that have been reinvented. And I think it's really cool. Like, I've talked to these guys in Mississippi, and they've converted their vodka distillery into making hand sanitizer.
Love it.
And we were collaborating ideas, and I was like, you have to make an airplane kit. So you got vodka, hand sanitizer with all your branding.
Love it.
I love that, and I said the PR alone will be huge. Like, go to the airlines and sell these kits. Right?
Totally. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Ideas. And he's like, I never thought of that. And then another company they make custom-made jeans, right? They're like high-end denim. They're amazing. They fit all the athletes. They come down and measure you. There's like $500 a pair.
Damn.
So they changed their whole operation into making masks. Making, they have 30, 40, 50 people that could sew. They're like, making a mask is like making a pocket on a jean. So they made this prototype, and they're amazing. And they were like, we can crank out, hundreds of thousands of these, and we've got the whole community, wants to get back to work. So we're going to turn this manufacturing into that in the meantime. So they reinvented themselves. And I think that's amazing. So they're helping people, but then they're not laying people off because they have another need. So if you think about how you could do that,
I think that's pretty, we've got Distillery by us doing something similar with the hand sanitizer. It's pretty neat about, the custom jeans, and hey, we're gonna pivot. We're gonna find a way to keep people employed, fill the need, right? What's that need is a shortage of masks. And if we can satisfy that need, we've solved a problem, and we can continue to stay in business.
Yeah, a friend of mine, she's a nurse in Michigan. And this is how bad the problem is, because sometimes we don't see it at the 10,000 foot view when we're not in the trenches. She said they have masks that are supposed to only be on for 15 minutes that they're wearing for 16 hours. That's how short of supply there is. And they're worried about now the think about the police officers in every area. They're going to need them. It's not just the healthcare, it's like everybody. So, she was like, if you can find, then I started seeing what she said. I connected her with these guys that are sewing them. And, it's like you start using your network, not to dig up business for yourself, but connecting others who might not know those people. And I think that's what's been good about my network being so big, and yours. We can reach a lot of people and get people the things that they need now.
Yeah, I think that's super critical. Take a step back and say, who do I know that can do this or is doing that? Excuse me, just had a call yesterday or this morning. Time is just compressed at this point, right? About a company in my area that is basically has some sort of, I don't want to be misquoted here, but some sort of ready quick test kit that employers can use. Their challenge is getting it in front of the federal government. There's no hotline that says, hey, I've got this kit, but we can get 1,000 out the door today and 1,000 tomorrow.
No, and to get approval from the FDA. This is going to also realign people's thinking. We'll never want this to happen again. So everybody is talking about, don't want to be stuck with all this hand sanitizer that's coming up. We're going to be stocking up. We're going to be keeping it in our house. We had a shortage in the gym. It was nuts. Everything was back ordered. That's why I started researching. I found people that could make hand sanitizer because we had a shortage here. And then my friends, Jean Paul in Hawaii, he's been using this manufacturer. I'm going to give him a shout out because he's been amazing. That they use like for promotional items, right? But one of their promotional items was hand sanitizer. You put the label on it. So now he already has that relationship and that pipeline to call them up and go, hey, he's already approved. He's set up. He could start getting things from them quickly, where somebody, not just anybody, can just call, make a phone call and get millions of hand sanitizer, like literally millions of hand sanitizers. Those guys are amazing in Hawaii. They're not even sleeping. They're helping people so much. So
awesome. Jean Paul's a great guy. He runs a great team.
He's about to have a baby. His wife's, I think, a labor.
Right. And real life is still going on. We still have
there's
real things going on.
There's 4 brothers. I feel like I'm their missing sister. They're great. Joe, Brandon, all of them. They're really good people. So awesome. We were talking about what are we going to do together after this, because we work so well together.
Yeah, it's going to matter. You got to do something.
Yeah, and you and I too. We will.
For sure. Oh, for sure. I'm just chomping at the bit to get back out of the house and back out into the real world and
how's your son?
He's gonna be 7 next month.
Oh my gosh! And so, what grade is that? Second?
First grade.
First grade, yes. Oh my gosh! What is
and he's handled it like such a trooper. He's doing his schoolwork. He doesn't understand why he can't see his friends. He was shooting hoops with the neighbor yesterday, but they just want to hang out and go back to normal. And but they're resilient. Kids are just resilient. They sort of adapt. Maybe more so better than adults. We get set in our ways.
they don't watch the news and they're not affected. My daughter's 16, they canceled their prom. There's so many things like memories. She's a junior in high school, but I'm thinking about these seniors, they were looking forward. Some of these girls are paying like $600, $1,000 a dress. They can't take them back, maybe they will, I don't know, but it's just like, oh my gosh, just so many of those memories that this is going to be their memory, but also it does humble you. My daughter came out of her bedroom and sat and watched a movie with us last night. Usually she's, on the phone, or it was good. It's good to have that family bonding time that we needed.
Yeah. That's good. It's definitely bringing people closer, and I appreciate this because it's exactly that. So
we should talk every day.
I think so. I think that we could do that. We could just set up like a little team call of I don't know what the team's going to be, but like the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. We can get stuff for people. So yeah, let's leverage our network, right? People are always asking me to connect them with this person, that person. It's like now I'm reaching out because there's a need. There's a shortage of hand sanitizers, masks, medical supplies, ventilate everything. And if we can try to get those to the people that don't know how to get those resources, social media has been great for that. I think LinkedIn is not as, negative as some of the other social channels.
I agree. That's really where I spend the majority of my time these days, sort of for exactly that reason. And also because it's where most of my real world relationships are actually on LinkedIn.
I know. I feel like I've known you forever. It's like
totally.
Something I could get so you can understand somebody's personality, right? On who they are, what they are. It's so cool to see. It's like an art versus science, and then some of these people that just kind of repurpose the same propaganda, they're invisible. You got to be part of the conversations. And this is why it's important to be engaged on social media, because you and I know who to contact for this or that, or we saw this over here, and that can help that person. So just making those connections that are valuable, and sometimes and bad.
Absolutely. When you were talking about the hand sanitizer, before you even said Jean Paul, in the back of my head, I'm going, I know a guy who's got a hand sanitizer, but the guy I know is also Jean Paul, and it's from LinkedIn.
Yeah, they're amazing. And his brothers are helping. I mean, they're not sleeping, and they're like me. I'm not sleeping either. They're 8 hours behind us. And I'm like, it's, a 1 p.m. here. I'm like, what time is it there? They're like, we didn't sleep. But they're hustlers. Their work ethic is insane. I love it.
So you had said something earlier, and I want to come back to it because I think that was really valuable about, what brands are doing right now to have, you've got that great sense of community, what people are going to remember you for. Like, if you're a big brand right now, what, beyond out of home, what are some ways that you, just as a consumer, how do you feel connected to the brands that you think that have done the best job through this?
It's it's funny. It's I always said, like, people used to be brand loyal, but now they're going to be need loyal. Were you there my time of need? And those are the brands that are going to step up, right?
Wow.
That's what I think. In your time of need, not brand like Coca-Cola or whatever, they're always there. We see them everywhere, but who stepped up in the time. And I haven't seen anybody really, really big come up and make huge, huge donations yet. This is sort of early on here, but, Jeff Bezos donate, millions of toilet paper to somebody versus, you guys, he's going to take a hit, but, where are these voices? We're hearing about these celebrities that, have contracted it, but people just want to see the hope and the positivity and donate and, those things, those brands that were there in the time of need. I haven't really seen anybody, have you? I mean, is there a brand that you're like, oh my gosh, they're really stepping up, they're making donations?
I think the one that stood out to me early on and really throughout was just Mark Cuban. because
Oh yes, yeah.
right on the spot, like when he found out the game was being canceled on the spot, he said, I'm going to take every measure to make sure my people are paid, that all my hourly employees are not disrupted. Like it was an organic response from him. And as a Mark Cuban fan, I'll always remember it, but I think it introduced Mark Cuban to a lot of people that maybe didn't know him as anything more than just the guy on Shark Tank.
Okay, so that's a great point. It's maybe not a brand. We're looking for that leadership.
Oh,
that's what it is. And
we're,
he's
we're looking for a hero.
Huh?
We're looking for a hero. Was that the 80s song?
Yes, and he said he's going to still pay the employees. And I love what he gave me. He actually gave me that idea to have my manager clean here, because he goes, we'll take our employees that work at the stadiums and actually have them volunteer, and we're going to still pay them, but they're getting paid to sort of do volunteer work to help people. And he was repurposed the mindset. He's such an entrepreneur and so successful that he was like, I do not want these people to lose their jobs because I want them to come back, and I don't want them to suffer. But he just said, okay, we're closed, we're not going to have the games anymore, but we want you out in the community, helping people get the things that they need. The elderly people, I really feel bad for. We should be taking food, water, things like that to them, that can't get around. And so I think there's a lot of outreach that needs to happen. I feel like we need that leadership versus brands.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that sentiment. We lost Nana. She was 93 back in August. I'm so glad that she's not having to see this or live through it. But I can't help but to think, what if she was, or what if she was, that sucks. Like, so there's a lot of people out there that we can't help, and I'm staying close to all my neighbors, making sure that we're all have each other's back, and a couple of the elderly folks on the block, same thing, got everything you need. It's real sense of community.
Yeah, on Friday when we were talking over on LinkedIn, I called my dad, and he's 81, and I'm like, Dad, we had to close the business, and he's like, you did the right thing. He goes, wait till you get to the age where they don't care if you get a colonoscopy or not. That puts things like, he goes, you're gonna live through this. They don't like that. Put things in perspective to me.
Right, what matters right now?
Yeah,
right? Being present.
That was so funny. I'm like, you're gonna be able to reopen your business. You know how to make money. You're young. To him, I'm young, and he's like, we're shut in. We're this could take our life. And then he brought up the colonoscopy thing. I was like, that's been my dad. That's how he gets through things. Like, you're gonna get through this.
Find something to laugh about. I found myself earlier today just sort of like not in a bad mood, but just like in a rut. I was listening to the news. I was like,
that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do it. So I was like, wait a second, I need to break this. So I just immediately turned on some stand-up comedy, just break that up, because we can just allow ourselves to get really overwhelmed. And now working from home and having less contact with people, we're still filling that void for communication. What are we filling that void with? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it neutral? What is it? Because the output's going to reflect the input.
And then you just take literally hour by hour, day by day, and know that a good friend of mine gave me that advice too. Just breathe, take hour by hour. You can only get through this hour. You can only get through this day, and walk, move, get out of the house, whether it's a 10-minute walk with your dog or just a video, online, fitness video or something like that, just some positivity. And it is hard because we want to be tuned in, because I think we're all looking for that. Okay, we're done. Like this,
we're waiting for it. Like,
it's like the hurricane.
Your phone, wait for the text.
Yeah, like I want to text that says we're done with this. I'm like, I keep waking up thinking this was just a dream, but in a way, it's giving us, a different perspective. So I think it's going to be good. In chaos, there's always opportunity.
For somebody listening right now that maybe is in that flux state where they're not too sure about what's going to come, maybe they're in a situation, like myself, right? What would you recommend to them as like the top priorities? There's no one hiring right now. I can't go out of my house. Potentially in a scenario where you're out of work. What are those 3 or 5 things, fitness, what you're eating,
Yeah,
your
definitely.
mindset? What are the things that you're focusing on to keep all of that aligned regardless of the circumstance?
Yeah, definitely fitness, those things that we put off inside our home. I'm always like, oh, I wanted to straighten out the den and organize that. And, just staying away from your phone it's hard. We're sort of all addicted to it, but just those things that call somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. There's in their text, we talk over social media, call them. How are you? Do you need anything? I have friends that live up north. Their families live down here close to me. Can I go check on your mom? Can I take her toilet paper? What can I do to help you just in a little way, even just drop it off at their doorstep? There's so many elderly people that, have families or they're, can't get the things that they need. They may not be able to drive. And I don't know, just how can you, like, I always say, even in business, how can I help? What can I do to help you? And people are like not used to it, whether they say no or yes, but at least they know that you're there and like, hey, I'm willing to, drop everything I'm doing. A good friend of mine, she's going through tax season right now and she's working from home and getting all these audits. And she's always got her act together. And I'm like, I've already been through the storm. Like once you go through the whole, wow, there's sort of a sense of peace. Like now I got to try to figure out how can I help somebody else? 'Cause it was hell, just trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, the quicker you can kind of get through it and know that this isn't nothing's forever. And just, I think really, I'd say, keep moving your body, keep talking to people, get those face-to-face conversations, like we were doing. Even you could Skype your family, FaceTime people, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that finding a sense of purpose, right? So the fitness, taking time, focusing on your well-being, physically, mentally. Right? Think about the brain's a muscle, but we don't take time to train it. Meditation, yoga, breathing, things that are allowing ourselves to sort of flush some of that stuff out because it's all stress. That's all stress, and that can create such a toxic environment for our bodies if we don't take time to. I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna just delete it. It's the end of the day. I'm gonna get rid of all of it. It's gotta go. It's gotta go.
Did you see the Geopath is doing like an out of home happy hour?
Happy hour. I know. I saw it. It's on Thursday at 5. Yeah. They did the last one. I think on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Did you go to that?
I didn't because I had my son on St. Patrick's Day. And I'll have him again on Thursday. So Geopath, Kim Frank, if you're listening, Scott, maybe we can move that to it.
Oh, they're awesome, Kim. I'm always thinking of something creative to get people together, and I think that kind of stuff. What about doing that with your family? Let's do a family web happy hour, and everybody gets on Skype or and then we talk, and we're all kind of together, even though we can't be.
I've seen a few birthday parties done that way over the weekend. Really? Friends just all got together. Yeah. I had 2 that I can think of. And my son this morning was like, I miss my friends. I was like, all right, well, maybe there's a way we can get in touch with a few, and I'll use Zoom and send a link out to everyone, and you can hang out with your pals for a few.
Yeah, that's like thinking out of the box. What can we do versus what we can't?
Totally. Right. Don't tell me why we can't. Come up with a way that we can do the thing, whatever the thing is.
Whenever somebody says you can't do that, Andrea, I always show them that I can.
Challenge accepted. Thanks.
Yes, exactly. Like, that's the wrong thing to say to me. But just making, positivity, fun. Going online is so negative. People are blaming everybody for. You can't blame anybody for this. It is what it is.
Right, literally no one's fault. The only thing that we have control of is our reaction to the circumstance, and that reaction can be a number of different things. But I say start from the end goal, work backwards. How do you want to be remembered? Okay, if that's how, then what do I need to do to be remembered that way right now? Is it reaching out to your clients proactively, not waiting for them to call you? You know,
Ooh,
is it
I like that too. I went ahead and canceled this because I knew, I better call you and obviously with approval and all that, but
sure.
just go to your managers and say what makes sense. Like, this person was already leveraged and you can't say, you can't, there's not as many people on the road and you can't really, validate the out of home vehicle in the way that you could before, and you can say, you know what, I want you to come back when everybody's back and you're going to get the most return on your investment for this. This is not the time.
Had that conversation this morning with a client and you could almost hear the surprise in their voice. Like
wait, you're going to let me out of it?
You're telling me to stop right now? And there's just a human empathetic level that comes out. Wow, thanks. Like I was over here thinking about how I'm in this contract with you and that my business is going to be closed for the foreseeable future, but I still want to honor this contract. So coming up with ideas like a deferment to just say, but proactively saying, hey, listen, man, I know that you're affected here. So are we. Here's a way that we both win.
And it's funny, the anytime fitness business model is sort of like the out of home industry. We have annual contracts and what I always said we should do in the out of home industry is also have the option to freeze, right? We could freeze people's accounts. We get a lot of people that are snowbirds that come down, they want to lock in their rate, with their monthly rate, but they go back up north for 3 months. They don't get out of those payments. We just put it to the back of their agreement. They still have a 12-month and they appreciate that because rates change and all that. And then we can freeze it for them. And then when they come back, it's almost like you've sort of got them locked in because they know that, oh, I've got this agreement. They let me out of it for the time that I'm not actually using it. And then we just add it to the back end. And we keep getting more and more long-term contracts because of that, because of the flexibility. And people, with gyms especially, they're like, they won't, it's so easy to sign up. It's so hard, when you actually have a real situation. They send you to a 1-800 number. That's what I'm saying with small business owners too. If you can handle things on a customer service level, at the market level, or at the business level, people really, really appreciate that. Because I walk into businesses, I'm like, what do I have to do to get out of this? It's going to be, I've got to call this person, this, and when somebody's like, it's done. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like this, like I'm totally coming back here and I'm telling all my friends how great you are. And that goes that goes such a long way.
And it's counterintuitive.
It is. You're like, they're ready for a fight, they're ready for a fight. I'm like, oh, I knew you were going to come in and want to do this, or we took care of it. And they're like, I had this whole speech to fight with you.
I think it's great. Yeah.
That's totally what I would want. And then they're like, it always comes back so tenfold. It does, because they'll tell people and they'll say, I'm going to give you a 5-star rating on Facebook, so that when people go to select a business, they see, I was having a hard time. We kind of tell them what to say. We helped you out of this. Since we helped you out of this, can you give us a little love? And they're like, absolutely. So those things, that's huge too. Customer service, testimonials, things that show people that, in good times and bad, you were there for them.
Over the next 12 months, the conditions have changed. Obviously, we have variables now that we didn't 3 weeks ago. Over the next 12 months, what's the biggest impact to the out-of-home industry that you foresee? I'm not going to hold you to it because obviously,
I have to get some mean calls.
These are fluid times.
No, I think you're going to see. The industry as a whole. I mean, the thing that I've always advocated for is it's not about a company, it's about an entire industry. How can we come together? You hear this, the billboard companies aren't each other's competition. We are in the same industry.
Totally.
We are. I don't know how to even get part. How can we get part of this? Digital agencies, brands direct, record labels, local, there's so much, in Tampa alone, I think there's 19 companies that are, Fortune 500 or billion,
Wow.
companies, and they're based here. Who's talking to them, and, like community service. There's so much business development because we sort of keep going back to the same agencies, the same pot of money, the same renewals. I like to look at somebody that's never done out of home before and say, okay, we want to add that. I see your feed. Like, I see that there's a diversion that needs to happen with social media. So I read there's 80% of the ads are going to 20% of the audience. It's time to reallocate those dollars to, now we have the audience measurement. Now I sound like Kim Frank. Now we have the audience measurement, and we can show them these locations index high against your audience that you already have. People are going to be, you need to diversify. And so the impact is all up to the out-of-home industry. How are you going to change? Go back to work. Don't be complacent. Work every day as if this is going to happen in 3 months. And when you build up your plant, your occupancy, all that, it's just gravy on top of that. It does work when you are always sort of living in that fear, being proactive. I could lose this all over again. We've had it really, really, really good for a long time, and the industry is strong. It's been around since the cavemen, and it's, you can build a business around something that's solid. I mean, it evolves, it's great, but a lot of times we don't look outside and see what we're surrounded by. That there's a whole ton of people that are curious and want to buy out of home. We need to start knocking on those doors and not waiting for them to come to us.
I think that's awesome. I had a call last week. Again, time at this point, time it all blurs together. But with the with a state council in the agriculture field and with their executive director, and we were talking about all things marketing, but specifically the challenges to this segment and what her team was responsible for. So we got through all that and got a good understanding of what she's up against. And then we started to talk about out of home, how out of home works, how you can target an audience, what the 3 key audiences are for this particular organization, and how they foresee being able to influence that point of purchase. So we're having this great conversation. So then to be able to come back and say, well, did you know that you could actually target the same audiences you're targeting on Facebook? Doing billboards is kind of like running a Facebook ad, and here's how.
It is, yeah.
And I can start to attribute a change in behavioral patterns with things like foot traffic analysis, or I can start to tell that story in Google Analytics with lifts to organic and direct traffic, and how does that tie back to a conversion goal on your website? There's ways to quantify a targeted campaign, and it was an incredible response, but exactly the response that you'd expect from somebody that understands all of these other digital components and goes, wow, that just makes so much sense. I never thought about out of home that way. That's awesome. So there's this huge education gap that, we need to work together to help build that bridge.
Yeah, we have our industry conferences that we all go to, but start looking at other conferences like automotive conferences. Where's the out of home presence there? Where's somebody
dying to go to NADA, Digital Dealer, all of them, because out of home needs to be there.
Yeah, we got to go. Yeah, we have to go outside to bring it inside, and that's the thing where it's like we need new business. We need to know that we've got our core business, and that's awesome, and keep taking care of that. But we always got to kind of keep, make it's not a one size fits all. We try to say, oh, just put this up, and back in the days when you could just put it up and hope it works. You got to put some strategy behind it now, and this is the bridge from digital to traditional is out of home, and we can walk people over to traditional because, it was so ambiguous. I want to reach women 25 to 54. You kind of didn't have all the data before. Now we can say that person is in this car, that drove by this billboard at this time, I mean, there's so many ways to track it, and that's what people want. They want to know at the end of the day, how do I make my cash register ring? I mean, that at the end of the day, did this make me money? You can give all the data you want, this and this and this, but you got to have a plan that you can start, once the campaign starts, how's it working? Are you seeing what you want to see? Should we change it up? Are you seeing your phones ring? You said you wanted your phones ring. You said you wanted more people. I don't think we do a lot of that while the contract is going on. And
the account management side, you're saying?
Yeah, the account management. I always say that, the sales starts once the contract is signed. That's when you want to make sure it's working. And, if people don't hear from you, then they're kind of like, oh, well, I don't know if that worked or not. But if you start asking them questions, oh yeah, I did see some traffic, there were phone calls, there were people asking, somebody did say they saw my bill, or it's all obviously communication, but I've seen the contracts go from, annual contracts to 6 months was the new annual to 3 months to a month. And we can turn things around so fast. But I think getting more money from the people that are already buying it makes more sense than trying to get brand new customers. Grow the base that you have and keep that. And you can get, longer term agreements, but it's just in these times, for sure, it's got to be proactive.
For sure. And I think it's especially, important to be able to be a good storyteller with how out of home works and being able to do all those things. So if you plan to continue to have a career in out of home, becoming a good storyteller is a pretty important thing to be focusing on right now. And that account management side, I saw some of the same myself. And that coming from the agency side, where you've got clients spending significant amount of money on a monthly basis and it's high touch, you're talking to your clients all the time, to come to a space where it's like, oh yeah, I talked to him last year when I got the annual. What? Excuse you? I was in my clients. I saw every single of my clients once a week.
Yeah, or talk to them. Send them an article. I saw you were like Google alerts on. Oh my gosh. Then they'll think you're paying attention, but you can put, Google alerts for, this certain category, and you just stay up on that. If you're around them all the time, they're going to be like, wow, this person is, didn't just get the contract and leave. They're collaborating and they're becoming a consultant for me. And I had probably the least amount of, my customers in Tampa, when I was in Tampa at Outfront CBS, I think my list was like 60 customers. But that was billing one of the highest billers, because I kept selling them more and more and more and more and more, and it was working for them, versus somebody that had 100 accounts that was just reinventing I'm like, you're wearing yourself out. Like, just go and say, hey, I've got this location, it just work, a lot smarter than harder. So
I think we need to do a virtual account management session.
Spend my life.
I think it's so, because that lends itself to just being a good ambassador for the industry, telling better stories, talking to people that haven't been exposed, and being able to talk to them about a thing that maybe makes sense to them. If it's a brand that's doing Facebook ads, being able to intelligently say, listen, did you know buying a billboard's just like buying Facebook ads? In most cases, it's about the same CPM or less. Wait, what? Really? And in fact,
education,
Facebook
for sure,
says that Facebook ads work better when you do billboards with them. Let's have a conversation. Instead of, hey, I can get you a great rate on this board that's on this big highway here. You pass it every way on the day in, on your way in, don't you?
Yeah, it's not real estate anymore. They all have their own personality. Every single location, it has personality. It reaches this audience or that, or obviously the creative is the number one thing. Right. You can have the best location in the best market with the most traffic, and you've got 18,000 words, and your dog, you've got to take control of that. You got to say, you sell cars, you don't need your dog on this billboard.
Who cares about your dog? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that dog's not the demo now, but I want my, it's more of an ego buy, but it's not going to work. And you are an expert in this, I'm an expert in that. And let me show you something that will work. And if it doesn't, then we'll have a conversation about that. You know, I had, and they'll laugh if they're listening, an agency down here that would only buy right-hand reads. That's it, right-hand reads. I'm like, why? Because they're better. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to give you all, and I've told this story many times, left-hand reads for free. Every single one of them that's available. Really? Yeah, but we're going to put free hamburgers on it. And it was for a fast food place. And they're like, no. I'm like, well, I didn't think they worked. I didn't think left-hand reads worked. You know, it's so funny. So that was always a fun story. And they're kind of like, well, we think, you know, it's just all perception. You know, you can have a right-hand read with crappy copy or a left-hand read that just, you know, it's simple and connects.
That's what I love about sort of being a newcomer and then seeing a tool like Geopath, because I don't know where half these billboards are anyway. So I take my opinion out of it and say, all right, what's the data tell me? And then I'll go through and, you know, select which ones are the best reads and, you know, don't have too much veg or, you know, aren't worn out. But my first call is to say, my opinion doesn't matter. What's the data? What does the audience insight tell me about the person I'm trying to reach?
And that's effective too, for sure. But yeah, having the right, simple, creative, you know, it doesn't even really have to say anything. Like one of the billboards that I did years ago was for Mick Cafe, and we had 3D coffee cups, and it just said, you know, steamy, dreamy, and creamy, and then it had the steamers. That's it. I mean, it's still talked about to this day.
Isn't that awesome?
You know, and they're, yeah, the steamers and all that. So I mean, less is definitely more, you know, because you really have an impact, you know, on people. People's attention spans are so short, and unfortunately people are not really paying attention. Sometimes they're looking at their phone, but if they're stuck in traffic and you've got, we used to say you'd have, you know, 10 seconds to read the billboard. I think it's probably 2 now, you know, to make a connection. Sure. So
make them laugh, make them cry, or make them think.
Yeah, make them feel something.
Make them feel something.
Everybody's like, this is a big space. I've got to use all of it. Every single piece, you know, it's like you've got a big space to put a big ass message on, you know.
What was that? There's like a piece of art that went viral. It was just a banana duct taped to the center of a canvas.
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, that's
like a billboard like that would be great. Chiquita banana.
That would be good.
Just a billboard of a banana duct tape to it.
I don't know. We'll come up with some crazy stuff. But
we've got plenty of time, so.
Yeah, well, you want to do this again tomorrow?
Yeah, we could just, this would be like Regis and Kathleen Lee. We'll just make this a daily thing.
Let's do that.
I'm in. Yeah, let me check my schedule. Yeah, it's clear. Okay. I'm in.
Yeah, me too. Oh, there's no customers in here. Okay, yes.
Let's go.
Now we could do like a workout like Dwayne Johnson does in his gym.
Cool, right? I'll be Kevin Hart. You'll be The Rock.
That's right. Okay, I like that. I love them. I love those two together.
So fun.
I showed somebody a picture that they thought I was kidding. I'm like, here's my new home gym, because obviously we don't have customers. I'm like, what are you, Dwayne Johnson? I'm like, yeah, maybe we should have him come down here.
Well, we can't wait for things to get back to normal. Andrea, this has been a lot of fun. First YouTube live. I'm not sure that I'm gonna, you know,
just be watching us.
I don't know. Let me see. I'm gonna jump over there.
Entertained. I don't know.
It says one watching now. I don't know what that means exactly. It could just be me.
Me?
Yeah, it's probably just us. But we've made history today. The first YouTube live edition of the Out of Home Insiders.
Yes, and we have one-to-one relationship, right? You know, we know who our audience is. It's just us.
It's us. It's just
no one
us.
else is watching.
So that's the weird thing about, like, since starting doing this. In some format, it's been downloaded in 11 different countries, as far away as the Philippines.
Really?
Wow. There was a city in Mexico that trended as like one of the most popular podcast download sites for a month, which I'm like, who is that?
Nice.
Who is that, right?
That's huge.
On YouTube, about 23% of the audience is based in the United States. The other 77% is international, which is just cool. But then the exact opposite is true on the podcast side. It's about 78% US and 22% international. So
these are good stats.
I don't know who the people are, but there's people out there that are listening or watching at some point in time. It's cool.
That's great. Well, survive this. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for being a part.
Me up, actually, I was so looking forward to this.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, it's been so fun, and I'm honored, of course, to be part of this. And if you ever need anything, call somebody else. No, I'm kidding.
For sure. So for everybody listening, don't call Andrea. Not even a link to her bio.
Like I was like, I'm helpful and all that. I'm like, nah, I'm just kidding. No, I'd always be there. Yeah, I love it.
Social distancing.
The social distancing. We're all gonna recover. I swear to God, we're gonna recover. I always had a manager to say, you feel like it's the end of the world, and it's in a year from now, nobody's gonna remember that, you're gonna recover or you're gonna rebuild, because we can't,
So true.
We always do. And Americans are really impatient, so I'm sure we're going to try to figure this out quicker than.
It's absolutely. I feel like we got a few ideas just here tonight, so now we got to go execute.
Yeah, so now we got to do what we said we were going to do.
That's it.
We will.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tim. You're awesome.
Thank you, Andrew. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Be well. Stay healthy.
And you're going to have somebody on tomorrow, so I'll tune in tomorrow.
Tomorrow, no. Wednesday, yes.
Okay.
I'll have Jonathan, and I just can't do the roll the R thing. Trejeres.
Yeah.
LED Truck Media. He'll be on Wednesday.
He's great.
Friday, we'll release the episode that I did with Brian Rappaport a few weeks ago. I didn't feel like this week was the right time to release it because it's some really good conceptual stuff that I think we're just now starting to. We're getting ready to get back out there, and that's going to be a really good episode.
It's like we keep in contact. He's just a really great person and just such a great guy.
Great guy, super generous with his time.
Yeah, super generous and helpful, and I love him.
So
he's a good person for the industry.
Definitely. So we'll keep cranking up the volume. It's the loudest voice at home.
Keep doing what you're doing, yes, and let's keep in touch for sure.
For sure.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thanks, Andrea. And thanks to everybody listening. If this has been helpful, please share it with somebody. We hope that it finds you healthy and well, quickly on the mend, putting your business back together. From everybody here at the Out of Home Insider Show, which is just Andrea and me and the dog, wherever the hell he went. We'll see you guys next time.
Okay, bye. Thank you.